So it is 1946. You've just taken control of a mid-sized movie studio in Hollywood, and congratulations, you are now personally responsible for 2 soundstages, 47 actors who get paid whether they work or not, a distribution office that smells like cigarette ash and desperation, a chain of movie theaters across 3 states, and a bank loan with the kind of interest rate that makes your accountant drink before noon. Your job is not to make a great film. Your job is to make sure this entire operation does bleed out before January. Let's talk about what you actually bought. A movie studio in 1946 is not a creative enterprise. It is a factory. The soundstages run on a schedule. The carpenters, the electricians, the costume department, the grips, the script girls, the camera operators, they show up Monday through Saturday, and they get paid, whether you are shooting a picture or not, whether you have a script ready or not, whether your lead actress just eloped with a trumpet player in Reno and nobody can find her. Doesn't matter. Payroll goes out. Your 2 soundstages cost roughly $4,000 a week each just to keep the lights on and the crew standing by. Your contract players, and you've got about a dozen of them at various tiers, are pulling between $500 and $3,000 a week, depending on how famous they are. The big ones cost more, and the big ones aren't always the ones who sell tickets. Sometimes the big ones are the ones your predecessor signed, because he liked their smile at a party in Malibu. You are burning through something like $40,000 to $60,000 a week in overhead before a single frame of film runs through a camera. Now, the bank does not care about art. The bank does not care about Oscars. The bank gave your investors a production loan based on a slate. That slate says you will deliver 8 feature films in 12 months. 4 of them will be modestly budgeted pictures. Westerns, mysteries, comedies at around $200,000 each. 3 will be mid-range productions at roughly $400,000 to $500,000, and 1 will be your prestige picture, your A film, budgeted at somewhere around $1 million. Total production budget for the year, roughly $3.5 million. Total operating costs, including overhead, distribution, prints, and advertising, add another $2 million. You need to generate at least $6 million in revenue just to break even. More like 7 if you want to actually pay down the loan principal and keep the investors from replacing you with someone's nephew. So here is the math that actually runs Hollywood in 1946. You don't need a hit, you need throughput. The first decision lands on your desk in February, your prestige picture. The director wants to shoot on location in San Francisco. He wants 3 weeks of exterior work, a full orchestra for the score, and a rewrite on the 3rd act that will push the start date back by 6 weeks. Your star is under contract, so he is getting paid regardless. But if you push the start date, your soundstage sits empty for those 6 weeks. That is $48,000 in overhead generating absolutely nothing. You say no to the location shoot. You tell the art department to build San Francisco on stage B. It'll cost $18,000 for the sets. That is a lot of plywood and painted backdrops, but it is cheaper than $48,000 in dead overhead plus travel, plus hotels, plus the cost of moving equipment across the state. The director is furious. He says the picture will look cheap. You tell him the picture will look finished. That is what matters. Meanwhile, you've got stage running a Western budget, $180,000. Shooting schedule, 18 days. Your second-tier contract player is the lead. He is already on salary. The script was written in 11 days by 2 staff writers who are also on salary. The costumes came out of the warehouse. Same chaps, same hats, same gun belts from the last 4 westerns. You're recycling everything. The sets from last year's cavalry picture got repainted and turned into a saloon. The horses are rented from the same ranch in Chatsworth. This is the movie that keeps the lights on. Nobody's going to write about this western in a film history book. Nobody's going to call it a masterpiece. But it will be ready in 3 weeks. It will cost you almost nothing above your existing overhead. And when it ships to your theater chain, it will fill seats on a Tuesday night in Dayton, Ohio, and a Saturday matinee in Tulsa, and it will generate revenue while your prestige picture is still arguing about the 3rd act. Now let's talk about that theater chain, because this is where the real economics get nasty. You own 31 movie theaters. Most of them are in mid-sized cities. They need product. They need a new picture every week, sometimes twice a week for double features. That is at least 52 films a year, and you're only making 8. So you license pictures from other studios to fill the gaps. But when your own pictures play in your own theaters, you keep a much bigger share of the revenue. When someone else's picture plays in your theatre, you're paying them a rental fee. This is why the factory model exists. Every picture you produce is a picture you don't have to rent from someone else. And it gets better, or worse, depending on which side of the desk you're sitting on. Block booking. You bundle your prestige picture with 3 of your cheaper pictures, and you offer the package to independent theatre owners. You want the big glamorous star vehicle. Great. You also have to take the western, the mystery, and the comedy nobody asked for. The independent exhibitor doesn't get to cherry pick. He takes the bundle or he gets nothing. This is how a mediocre western with recycled costumes makes money. Not because anyone's excited about it, because it is stapled to a picture people actually want to see. Your distribution department runs the map. They've divided the country into territories. Each territory has a branch office. Each branch office has salesmen who drive around to exhibitors with a catalogue and a handshake, and a very firm understanding that if you don't take our full slate, maybe next year you don't get early access to our big Christmas release. Is this fair? No. Does it work beautifully for you? Let's go back to the prestige picture. It is April. You're 3 weeks into production and you're already 12% over budget. The director demanded a reshoot on 2 major scenes. The female lead's costumes had to be redesigned because the studio head's wife saw the dailies and said she looked too modern. That is $11,000 in new wardrobe. The third act rewrite finally came in, and it added 4 pages of dialogue in a courtroom set that doesn't exist yet. Build cost, $9,000. You're staring at a picture that was supposed to cost $1 million and is now tracking toward 1.2. You have 3 options. 1. Shut it down. Eat the loss. You've already spent $600,000. Walking away means $600,000 in dead money and nothing to show for it. The bank will not be pleased. 2. Cut scenes. Pull the courtroom sequence entirely. Rewrite the ending to take place in a location you've already built. Save maybe $80,000. The director will hate it. The picture might suffer, but it ships. 3. Keep going. Approve the overages. Hope the finished product is good enough to justify a premium release and stronger box office. You pick option 2. You're not running a charity. You're running a factory. The director stops speaking to you at lunch. That is fine. He is under contract too. He'll direct what you tell him to direct, or he'll sit at home collecting his weekly salary while doing nothing, which, come to think of it, costs you the same amount either way. You briefly consider whether the entire concept of employing human beings was a mistake. May, June, July, the Western ships. It does fine, not great, fine. It plays for 2 weeks in your own theatres and generates about $310,000 in total domestic gross. After the exhibitor's cut in outside theatres and your own operating costs, you net roughly $90,000 in profit, on a picture that barely cost you anything above overhead. The mystery ships in June, similar story, $280,000 gross, net profit maybe $70,000. These are not exciting numbers, these are survival numbers. These are the numbers that pay the electricians and keep the bank from calling. August, your prestige picture finally wraps. Final cost, $1.15 million. You release it in September with a big premiere, newspaper ads, radio spots. Your distribution team pushes it hard across all territories. Opening week is strong. The star's name pulls audiences. The reviews are mostly positive. One critic in New York calls it handsomely mounted, which is critic language for expensive looking. Total domestic gross after a 12-week run, $2.1 million. Sounds like a hit. Let's do the actual math. The exhibitors keep roughly 50% of the box office in the first week, scaling up to as much as 70% in later weeks. Your average retention across the full run is about 45%, so your share of that $2.1 million is roughly $945,000. You spent $1.15 million making the picture and another $150,000 on prints and advertising. Total cost $1.3 million. Net loss $355,000. Your biggest, most expensive, most prestigious picture of the year lost money. And this is normal. This is not a disaster. This is Tuesday. The studio survives because the other 7 pictures on the slate, the westerns, the comedies, the mysteries, the one noir thriller you greenlit because the script was tight and the sets were cheap, those pictures collectively grossed about $4 million and cost about $1.8 million to produce. Net profit across the B slate, roughly $800,000. The B movies paid for the A movies' failure. The factory absorbed the shock. Then there is the theatre chain. Your 31 theatres generated about $2.4 million in ticket sales across the year. plus another $300,000 in concessions. After operating costs, your net from theatre operations is about $600,000. Your total revenue picture for the year, roughly $7.5 million in gross revenue across production, distribution, and exhibition. Your total costs about $6.8 million net profit, approximately $700,000. Before taxes, before the bank's interest payment. After the interest payment, you are looking at maybe $300,000 in actual profit, $300,000 for running a factory with 2 sound stages, 31 theatres, hundreds of employees, 8 feature films, 1 public scandal involving your contract player and a cigarette girl at CROS, and a director who still won. Look at you. That is the economics of a movie studio in 1946. It is not glamorous. It is a manufacturing margin business dressed up in evening wear. And then 1948 happens. The Supreme Court rules in United States v. Paramount Pictures. The studios that own theaters must divest them. Block booking is now illegal. You can no longer staple your lousy Western to your prestige picture and force exhibitors to take both. Every single structural advantage you relied on to keep this factory running just got pulled out from under you. Without block booking, your B-movies have to compete on their own merits. Independent exhibitors can now say no thanks to your mystery film and just book the Western from Republic Pictures. Instead, your distribution leverage evaporates. Without the theatre chain, you lose $600,000 a year in exhibition revenue. You also lose the guaranteed screens for your own product. Now every release is a negotiation. You are sitting in your office in late 1948 with a very simple choice. Keep the production operation, sell the theatres, become a pure content company that has to fight for every screen, cut the contract player roster, reduce the slate from 8 pictures to 5, fire the carpenters, the seamstresses, the third shift security guards, or keep the theatres, sell the production assets, become an exhibitor, license other people's films, let someone else deal with directors who want to reshoot the third act. You can't do both. The court said so. Most of the majors sold the theatres. They kept making pictures. They also started slashing those long-term contracts. Why pay an actor 52 weeks a year when you might only need him for 12? The contract system, the thing that made the factory efficient, became a liability the moment the factory stopped guaranteeing its own distribution. Within 5 years, half the contract players in Hollywood were freelance. The staff writers were gone. The costume warehouses started collecting dust. The soundstages went from running 6 days a week to sitting dark for months. The golden age didn't end because movies got worse. It ended because the business model that subsidized everything, the vertical integration, the block booking, the guaranteed screens, the forced output, got declared illegal. So here is your final ledger for 1946 8 pictures delivered. 1 prestige film that lost $355,000. 7 lower budget films that collectively netted $800,000. Theatre operations that contributed $600,000. A total net profit, after debt service, of roughly $300,000. On a business that consumed nearly $7 million in total spending. Your return on capital was about 4%. You could have bought government bonds and made almost the same return without ever having to argue about a courtroom set. But government bonds don't get you a table at Chazen, and nobody at Chazen ever asks how your bond portfolio is performing. They ask which star is in your next picture. So you smile, you order the chili, you say something confident about the spring slate, and you try very hard not to think about the fact that your entire business model has about 24 months